here is the dynamic that's happening right now. Garbage public polling that cannot be trusted, right? Just so everybody who's listening and watching understands you cannot trust the public polling. However, the internal polling for Kamala Harris, and they oftentimes
translation expensive.
Now listen, it's very expensive. David Axelrod has alluded to this as well. It's not good for Kamala Harris. So good. Listen to Mark Halpern talking about this, and then
he's seen it. He obviously saw.
Yeah, check this out.
There's some public polling already. There's more coming, and there's some private polling that suggests that nationally in the battleground states, she's not ahead. She might be ahead on paper, but well within the margin of error. And there's some battleground states now where I think Donald Trump's on this trajectory is going to be ahead. And it may be, regardless of what happens in the interview and regardless what happens in the debate, it may be that by the middle of September, when things have calmed down, when the Trump campaign have had time to prey on some of the weaknesses that I suggested, that he's ahead in all the Sun Belt states and ahead in Pennsylvania, and competitive in Michigan and Wisconsin, which would be roughly where Joe Biden was before the debate, with a single path to 270 electoral votes, the 3 Great Lakes states and Nebraska too. And that'd be a scary position for the Democratic Party to be in from mid-September through Election Day.
First of all, to Mark Halpern, very nicely staged room. You know, I gotta say, for a man, a very nicely staged room.
Mark's a good dude. He is.
I mean, look, he reported on Biden being shanked by Kamala before anybody else did, and Democrats and the Biden campaign attacked him like crazy.
That's why he's not in the clique anymore. That's why he's not on Showtime with the cool kids anymore. He's too honest. He's too honest.
Well, I mean, there you have it, Rich. The internal polling for Kamala, and again, I'm not saying that we're going to run away with this thing. It's going to be close. But Kamala, the important thing is that Kamala, as I mentioned before, the main question was, is she going to be able to reshape the electorate or be a blip on the radar? It's trending in the direction of, blip on the radar. And it seems like her honeymoon is over. What do you think?
She got, and I'm telling you, you're going to see it soon. She got no bounce. And I spent extra time. We are spending extra time in the field because, as I showed people on the show, in 2016, it took Hillary Clinton 4 days to begin to increase after the convention. This idea that you would get a morning consult poll the next day and it's all baked into the cake is just not how this works. Okay, Rich, it's 2016. We're in the age of information. Maybe things are different. Nope. Looked at 2020, same thing. Biden did get a bump. Hillary got a 5-point bump. Biden did get one, and it did recede. But, the whole process took almost 2 weeks. So we wanted to stay in the field to make sure, and then wait for the distortion, the distortion in data and the noise to calm down. She had no bump. She 2 points. At one point, she pulled ahead. I'm just going to give people the goose. At one point, she pulled to a 2-point lead. It evaporated. It's noise. It wasn't like two. This is the thing we're doing this year again. Harris, slight lead, +1. That's not a lead. Your sampling error is 3.5 points. Like, don't you know how and they do know how basic statistics works. You got Fairleigh Dickinson over there doing the most unethical thing I've ever seen a pollster do in my life. And by the way, people did take notice, the right people, which is good. I was getting very pissed off that I was the only one who said anything. But to poll the race correctly and find a Trump +1 and then inject race and age and gender and all of these questions, that is just a complete unethical move. And then report the push as the actual result of the poll was congratulations, Fairleigh Dickinson. You win the award for the People's Pundit's biggest scumbag pollster in the cycle. That I'm going to make up a graphic and everything. I may actually go to a trophy store and build you a trophy store and put it on the show.
You got to do that.
I'm not kidding. And put it like on a shelf behind me for the show. And this stuff has got to be done, because if they're not shamed, then they'll continue to do it again and again and again and again. The truth is, I'm waiting to go on Steve Gruber. I get leaked a bunch of battleground state polls 2 days before the rest of most of the people I know who did see them. And it's their poll. And Trump is ahead in Michigan by 1 point. And Trump is ahead in Pennsylvania by like 4 points. And Trump is like, he's down, but he's down a little bit in Minnesota. She's up 3 in Virginia. I asked for Nevada and Georgia because he's ahead in Arizona, and they wouldn't give it to me. So what does that tell you? It's ironic that, not ironic. I find it funny. My ears perk up when I hear Halpern say that about the Sunbelt states, because of course, Georgia and Nevada are both Sunbelt states. It was bad in Georgia and Nevada, and they didn't want to give it to me. But they were kind of like trying to tamp down the excitement that is being thrown around by Democrats about how far ahead she is. There are a lot of people out there who are worried about what Mark called the blue mirage, a lot of Democrats. And these are older school people who remember what happened to Hillary Clinton, that was not a real lead. That was not a real polling lead. The truth is, in our panel, which was designed to mitigate response bias, Trump led more than Hillary Clinton did. So that suggests that was really kind of always the case throughout it. And we started polling before the 4th of July, went all the way to the election. This is what they're worried about, getting scooped again like this, Sean. So they're trying to have people see the polling to tamp down expectations. What happens? 24 hours, Jake Tapper gets it. Like 24 hours later. And so people are getting passed around these polls to show them that this is not the way the media suggests. Because there is propaganda, with polling, and, it helps fundraising, but there is a risk to it. And a lot of these older school Democrats think that Hillary Clinton was a victim of this, where, oh, don't worry, she's going to win. Don't worry, she's going to win. And it actually can decrease turnout among the side that is ahead, because some of their voters that are lower propensity voters think, she's got it in the bag. I'll stay home. The truth is that was never real, and she never had it in the bag. But they seem to think that maybe Harris does have a chance this time, and they don't want her to fall victim to what Hillary Clinton did. So that is why the polls are being leaked. And hilariously, some schmuck on Twitter was like, you don't have access to their polling. And then it was like, came out and exactly, and never get apologies. Nobody ever is big enough to apologize. No, they're just small people on Twitter, like just small people. But that is the case. And Mark is right that, like, at the presidential campaign level, there are pollsters who are yes men who just give people good news. They don't want to piss their client off. But that's not what you want at the presidential level. And at the presidential level, it's more expensive because they are going to set those stratification quotas. They're going to make sure that everybody's well represented, and they're going to pay a fortune for it. So, that's this is something we've talked about for a long time. There's only a few things you can do to mitigate it. Public polls aren't doing any of that. And they're creating a blue mirage, because I'm telling you, I'm looking at it. There's not 2% support for Donald Trump among Democrats. That is insane. And again, the votes tell a different story. Sean, the votes tell a different story. And we saw this. And this last thing, just to wrap up this thought, this is exactly what we saw in 16 and 20. The same things are there. And Mark brought up the northern Midwest. We're talking about Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. The polls are starting to look, he even laid out, she's down in Pennsylvania. Trump is competitive in Michigan. He's competitive in Wisconsin. Folks, Wisconsin polls more Democratic than it votes. And it tends to actually end up being the easier of the three as a lift, right? They're all tall orders for Republicans, but it ends up being closer. Pennsylvania's in the middle, usually. And Michigan is the hardest of those two. When the polling falls in line the way it is right now, it is a telltale sign that there's a major that it's a response bias, and that Trump is going to overperform. It happened twice before, and I'm not saying that's assuring that it will happen again, but the same pattern is presenting itself. The same issues in the data we're seeing. And actually, if this doesn't calm down soon, this environment could be worse than the 2020 environment to poll in, which is, my God, it just sucks, because we were in a fairly decent environment. I thought Trump was being overstated, but we were in like a decent, where I actually don't mind doing my job, but when it gets this bad, It's kind of sad, actually. It's less fun to do.
Whether you live at the beach, are going to one, or just want to imagine yourself there, Red Beach Nation has the comfy, patriotic apparel for the occasion. Founded by a former counterterrorism officer and war veteran of both the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, Red Beach Nation is committed to upholding the American values and principles that we all hold so dear. So grab your swag and rep the nation. Visit redbeachnation.com and use the promo code on your screen to save 10% off. Again, that's redbeachnation.com.